controller. So, all right, and with that, Craig's on. We better not embarrass ourselves anymore with this. Charles, do you want to kick it off?
Yes, I do. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this governance AMA. We are going to be going over some key points from the specifications and discussing how you can get more involved in governance now that we're off and running. So we encourage you all to ask any questions that you might have while we're up here. And yeah, this is really going to be just a space where you can fully get to know what the governance framework is all about, and get any questions that you might have answered, any details that you need that you might not have yet. So I was going to ask AS if he wanted to give a little bit of an intro on what it means for the specs to be ratified now that we've had an official vote. It was just a tester, but now that the specs are ratified, what are we hoping to see as the next step, and what are we hoping to see moving forward?
Sure. Yeah. So I think we had our first test vote last few days over on Snapshot. Here, let me go ahead and drop the Snapshot link too, just so people can join. So we created a couple custom strategies here to vote via Snapshot to measure, how much oath is in everyone's wallet across the different chains, and then, how much B oath is in their wallet to give them that extra voting power we outlined in the specification. But what I'm hoping to see looking forward now that we're going to be voting on next the ratification of the governance spec are really community-driven proposals, right? So I think up to this point, we've all seen, the Byte Masons have been a real driving force in the Oath ecosystem, and we have kind of our ideas of where we want the ecosystem to go. But this is really the chance for the community to get involved and kind of drive where the ecosystem's headed, right? I've been really, really fortunate to work with the Byte Masons, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity. But I think if everyone can get involved and kind of have a piece of the magic, right, of what's going on behind the scenes, or work toward, pushing the Oath ecosystem forward together, that'll be pretty awesome in my opinion. So, what we should see next, I think, coming up is we're going to drop a vote tomorrow to officially ratify the governance specification. So that will be probably tomorrow afternoon if I had to guess, but the vote will last about a week. So, get your oath ready to vote on Snapshot, and then once that is ratified, that will begin the decentralization process of the Oath ecosystem. So, yeah, so beginning phase one, spinning up the GPRC to review proposals, etc. So, yeah, I'm really, really excited to see it, kind of all kick off, and this is really just the beginning of the beginning, right? So, yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I will say, I'm assuming most of you probably watched the most recent town hall that we had that happened last month. But there is a good section of that town hall that was dedicated to announcing this governance framework. So I encourage you to watch that as well if you haven't yet. But we're going to go over some of the things that AS talked about, and really just go through what the specs are and what they cover. So yeah, AS, you that was a pretty good segue into some questions. I'm just going to start firing off.
Sure.
And while I'm doing that, guys, please think about anything that you would like to get answered and drop them in the chat, and we'll stay on top of that. But the first thing I wanted to start with was maybe just some goals around creating a governance framework, and why would an entity like the Oath ecosystem create a governance framework, and what it allows us to do that maybe wasn't possible or was more challenging beforehand.
Sure. So to me, this is just my personal opinion, right? That the main goal is to create a more centralized, community-driven, ecosystem. We really want every community member to have a say in shaping the future of, Oath platforms. We kind of have our own ideas of where they're headed, but community members have brought forward really, really great ideas that we never thought of, right? So, with this framework, we really aim to foster, really like inclusivity of ideas, transparency, and like really community driven decision making to help kind of drive the oath community forward. So really this governance spec is a launching point, and we're really looking for the community to help us push forward in phase 1 and phase 2 to kind of bring about new heights for oath, right? I'm sure there's a lot of other things that we can dream up that we can do with our oath and integrate with our oath apps. So I guess what really wasn't what wasn't possible before the spec was, I really want to say, operating in a more transparent manner. A lot of what we do, previously with the Byte Masons is really behind the scenes, right? We're working toward XYZ. Community may not know or be tapped into what's going on unless we tell them, right? So I really like that this system is moving to more of like an open kimono, place where people can actively participate, comment on, and come up with, formal proposals to drive, change within the ecosystem. To me, that just is going to enhance the overall resilience and adaptability of our community and ecosystem and make it much more dynamic. And to me, maybe make it a little more responsive to adapting to community needs in real time. Something I think that sometimes we can be slow with that, and if we involve a larger community, I think that we'll be able to adapt a lot quicker.
Yeah, and it's an interesting and tough decision for an organization to move from having a small number of people coming up with ideas and trying to make decisions to opening it up to the general community and having the collective effort be the driver of the decisions being made. It's like, turning that switch, so to speak. You have to make a choice at kind of what stage of growth it is beneficial to do so. And I think Oath has now gone to a point where, it's time where the community, you guys, me, us, we get to voice our thoughts, opinions, and ideas about the ecosystem in an official forum that will, shape the direction of the ecosystem. So like any ideas you have about integrations, about operations, about marketing, all this kind of stuff, you can now structure them and submit them for the rest of us to review and discuss. And it's a collaborative effort to leverage the resources that we all have at our disposal to succeed and to realize the full potential of this ecosystem.
Yeah, completely agree.
Like we all want to win. Like we all want to win, and we can make it happen through harnessing the collective brain power that we're a part of. And I know that there are some really smart people in the ecosystem. So it's like we want to hear from you, and we want to get a discussion rolling. And that's the nature of decentralized systems, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, I'm sure there's something that you've always wanted to change about, say, Reaper or or other apps. Now's your time to really make that happen, right? Put a proposal forward. Maybe get some funding to go make that happen, or we'll find other teams that could do that. But now's your chance to really actively participate and make things the way that you want to see it. And then have that collaborative effort with other people as well. So yeah, I'm really stoked to see where things are going to go. We've got a really active community, I think, compared to a lot of other projects out there. So yeah, I'm stoked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I wanted to add that like if you have an idea and you don't really know what to do with it, or you're not really sure how to get started, or you don't know how to formulate it, reach out to other people. Reach out to me. My DMs are always open for feedback and for help that anyone might need. So if you're like, okay, how do I get started? How do I write a proposal? Reach out to people. Start a discussion in the forum. There's a general chat in the forum that you can just bounce some ideas off people. So never feel like, I don't know. I just don't want anyone to maybe have some ideas and then kind of just keep them keep them reserved because they're not really sure how to approach it. Just start talking. And yeah, this is often said, but there's no dumb questions, in the sense that just like if you're not sure about something, always ask. And that's like really what you need to be doing in DeFi, is reaching out to people, even if you might be embarrassed or whatever.
Yeah, no, I'll just reiterate, there's no dumb question, right? Because the answer will always help show either a thought process or rationale for why things are the way they are, or what previous thought went into creating what currently is, right? So, and I think that's always a learning opportunity for other people too. So I don't see there ever being a dumb question, because that allows us to elaborate on, why we thought the way we did at the time and how we can change it or update it moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm. And it's more often than not that someone else is thinking the same thing, and there's like 5 people that all have the same question and no one wants to ask it. So it's like, you might be doing a couple other people a big favor by asking something that you are nervous about asking. Okay, so why don't we talk about the process a little bit? And someone comes up with a proposal and they want to post it on the forum. And AS, do you want to describe just that process a little bit of a proposal going through the necessary steps before excuse me, before implementation? And I can give some color if need be.
Sure. Yeah. So typically what we'd like to see is, we have a governance proposal template up on the forum for you to reference and look at. Like Charles said, just side note, my DMs are always open. So if you ever would like, some help crafting a proposal or editing one, just feel free to reach out. But a typical process we'd like to see is, a user, a forum member posting a proposal on the forum and allowing for that community discourse to happen, in a more open and transparent way. So, get some comments on the proposal, perhaps some tweaks or some edits. And then once, it's reached a certain point of maturity, the GPRC members, which we'll talk about in a second, will comment on the proposal. This is ready for review. We'd like to push it forward to the GPRC. And then eventually the proposal will begin working through the formal, processes. Now, when a proposal gets to GPRC, I guess I'm kind of leading a little bit into what is the GPRC, but it's the Governance Proposal Review Committee. And this committee is a really critical component of the governance framework. They kind of act as the gatekeeper for proposals. So they assure that proposals align with our community values, safeguard the system from potentially malicious governance attacks, etc. But they kind of act as the filter, right, for proposals as they work throughout the process. So once a proposal reaches the GPRC, they'll review it, maybe comment on it, perhaps propose some edits, and then if they approve it to move forward to a formal vote, eventually it'll be put up on Snapshot, and that's where people can actually weigh in on what they think about the proposal, vote yes or no, or one of their ranked choices, whatever it's going to be. And then depending on what type of proposal it is, if it meets a minimum quorum, which we're calling the minimum implementation threshold, then it goes forward to either implementing or archiving the vote if it's an ecosystem sentiment vote, right? So I threw a lot of jargon in there, and I apologize. We're kind of leading into what we're going to be talking about here very soon, but the normal process would be post on the forum, get comments and edits, move forward to GPRC, move forward to a snapshot vote, and then implementation.
Nice. Yeah. And like all 3 of us on stage right now, we are each GPRC members, and like a part of what is expected of us is to actively collaborate with all of you. So again, not to beat a dead horse, but reach out. Just like all that I personally am looking for is people who are motivated and who care about the ecosystem. So like I'll be your friend. I think if we have common interests, and that is to grow the ecosystem and make it the best possible ecosystem that we can. So please reach out, even if you just want to have a chat or whatever. But
Definitely. Yeah. And
if
I
you
will
care
say,
and you're motivated, like, let's go.
yeah, I'm gonna jump in real quick and say, well, I did say the GPRC is a filter for proposals. It's also an enabler, right? So we're here to
Mhm.
help you get your proposal where you want it to go. So, we want the ecosystem to thrive and be, community led as well. So, like Charles has said, we're gonna beat the dead horse over and over again tonight. Please reach out. We are here to help. Literally, that's all we want to do.
Yeah, yeah. Exactly. We're here to make your proposals a success. Thank you, Samson. And yeah, I was actually thinking, off on another small tangent here, but I was thinking after the town hall that was last month, about what a cool, I was, lying in my bed and just kind of daydreaming about what a cool opportunity it is to be a part of something that is, it's like, it's new, it's a new type of um, structure for a group of people, and it's like you are all a part of a system that has access to a bunch of resources, a bunch of other brain power. We have really easy modes of communication, and I don't know. I was just, it's like, it's really cool to be able to play as big a role as you want in something, where I don't, it's that, something like that is so rare in the traditional world of normies, so
Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
anyways, I don't
I
really know how I was
totally
supposed to
agree.
tie that around, but yeah,
No,
right.
I think it's really refreshing, right, to have that much kind of power that you can actively utilize or participate in. Whether it's in your job, or a government or whatever, sometimes it feels a little hopeless, right? There's so much bureaucracy you have to go through to get anything done. So this is hopefully not going to be that way. It's going to be a lot more. I would hopefully think it's going to be easier to make a difference, right, and be a participant in the system. So yeah, no, I'm with you.
Yeah,
Refreshing for sure.
yeah, this is why I'm in DeFi, right? Accessibility, openness, accessibility, can kind of carve your own path, and yeah. um okay, so that's the GPRC. You covered the proposal process. Now there's two phases to the governance rollout. So right now we're in phase one, and phase two. AS, do you want to talk about what the differences are between phase one and phase two, and maybe what kind of timeline there is between moving from phase one to phase two?
Sure. Yeah. So I kind of view phase one as building the foundation for phase two, right? So think of it, and this is kind of silly, but as like training wheels on a bicycle, right? So we're implementing governance, we're going throughout the process of creating proposals, we're identifying, opportunities for improvement, and we're basically tailoring the governance for system for what we want to see in phase two and phase one. So yeah, anyway, training wheels is kind of what I like to think of it as, right? So we go from building that foundation to a full decentralized launch in phase two. The requirements for getting a proposal pass increase in phase two. To be a community delegate, you need to be elected. All of them have to be elected in phase two. The implementation threshold to actually pass a proposal increase in phase two. So, yeah, it really is really going to be community led in phase two. That's the idea, right? So, what a timeline looks like, I think it would be anywhere from 6 to 12 months after phase one begins, which is hopefully going to be tomorrow, or next week, whenever the vote concludes. But uh, in my notional noodling, right, 6 months I think would be enough time to go through enough proposals, to get the community used to being involved in the proposal process, finding some very passionate people who want to be on the GPRC and involved as community delegates, etc. So anywhere from 6 months to 12 months is kind of the target. But once we feel like the community is mature enough and ready to take on active participation and ownership, then I think we can move to phase two. So yeah, anyway, my notional timeline was around 6 months, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And something I really like, um, between phase one and phase two, or something I really like about phase two, is the minimum number of voters. So phase one, there is for every vote, there needs to be a minimum number of tokens that vote on a certain proposal. And in phase two, that remains, but there is also a minimum number of voters in terms of like users addresses. And I think that's a really, really good idea because it's just a really good mechanism for curtailing some overpowered wallet to come in and be able to pass a vote, or heavily influence a vote passing where without that wallet it might not have passed. So I think a minimum number of voters is it's not something I've seen a lot in other governance systems. But I think it's a really good idea.
I definitely tried to read through other governance systems, Balancer, Aave, all the Optimism, the big ones that you have out there currently. And one of the things I kept coming up against was, okay, so I'm, anyone who knows Roosh in the Phantom ecosystem, and I have all these tokens, I can just vote whatever I want, right? And how do you prevent that? I guess I spent, just nights trying to figure out what makes sense. How do we come up against that wall and get past it, right? And what I thought of was, okay, well, we have a total number of people who hold oath. What if we just made the quorum a certain percentage of those people have to actively vote? To me, that made a lot of sense due to the fact that, in phase two, again, this is community driven, right? So there's no like real stranglehold by any particular community member or group like the Byte Masons or whoever else. It's going to be fully community driven. So to pass something needs to be a little more strict, right? It needs to be a little harder to get something through. You need to convince a few more people to hop on board with what's going on, right? So implementing a minimum number of voters is something I thought sounded really interesting and no one else was really doing. So it made sense to me, but we'll kind of see how it plays out. It really depends on how active is the community in voting. Is that threshold too high, too low? And I think that's what we're going to figure out in phase one, right? Is what is that right number that we want to hit? So we'll kind of figure out that in phase one, and then maybe we'll propose a revision in the next few months, or before we move to phase two, on what the minimum number of voters looks like. But yeah, we'll kind of figure it out, test it, see how it goes. I think we'll have a good time with that.
yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you can write proposals about changes to the governance system. It's like we don't need all of the with how amazing the work that AS has done. The responsibility is now shared collectively with all of us. Like, just like you might diversify risk, let's diversify the responsibilities of. Okay, that's a stupid analogy, but
no, I liked it. I liked it.
Yeah, right. Like, you get the idea. I mean, guys, like if there's a part of the governance system itself that you think could be improved, write a proposal, and if it's compelling, then it'll be passed. So that's the whole thing. Like, we're building on top of the scaffolding, so to speak, that AS has laid out for us. And also, I wanted to mention. So, like, I don't know, several months ago, I asked AS for some governance resources, just general governance resources, because I wanted to read up more about governance systems in DeFi. And so I'm going to post. There's a forum or a forum post that I made in the Discord, and these are a bunch of resources that AS provided me, and I'm going to be adding to it. But if you're not like if governance on the blockchain is something new to you, then I highly recommend going through that list and reading some of the other systems that the blue chip, the OG protocols have come up with, because to me at least, it's a fascinating part of DeFi, and there's like so much. I don't know. I think the sky is the limit with governance, and it's one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of Optimism, because like their governance system is so cool and so powerful. And I don't know. I think governance can can do a lot of really cool things. And I know it's a meme. Governance tokens became kind of a meme there, but I think it's coming back. Like I think over time people are going to realize the power that governance tokens hold, and that governance systems themselves hold, as this tech becomes more and more adopted. It's such a good way of
Sorry,
Go
I
ahead.
just want to jump in and say, like, every time you think you're caught up with what's going on, I guess this is the fascinating thing about the ecosystem is that things are changing on a daily basis, right? So you read those articles, you feel like, oh, I've got a real good grasp on governance, and then someone comes out with something brand new the next day, right? So it's something that's constantly evolving and something that's really, really interesting to kind of follow and keep track of. The articles I posted were from, a couple of years ago, right? And things have changed a lot in the last few years. So, as much as like we think that we know where governance is going to be in the next year or two, we may have no clue, right? And so that's kind of the fun part about being an active participant and learning as we go, is that we're kind of on the cutting edge of what's happening across, the whole world in this aspect, right? So anyway, that gets me really fired up and wanting to learn more and keep track of things. So
yeah. Myself as a DeFi connoisseur, so to speak, I spend most of my time looking at like the financial instruments in DeFi, but like the crypto as like a connectivity layer for a bunch of individuals and companies and groups of people worldwide can be such a powerful tool for democracy. And so that's where governance comes in. And anyways, it's interesting to spend some time learning about things that you might not have been thinking about previously. So all right, okay. So there's a couple questions that I've seen asked since the test vote came live. I think that was on Friday. But let's just go over the chains that are being supported for voting. So what chains you can vote on. And let's talk about BEoth a little bit, because I know there was some questions about where your BEoth can be to have it register as voting power. And it's too bad Beavis couldn't make it. But I think he mentioned that he was working on Beethoven, the Beethoven pool. I don't believe if your BEoth is staked on Beethoven, I don't believe it'll show up quite yet, but that's soon to be integrated. AS, I don't know if you can talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure that we included as many chains as possible. Right now, it's kind of hard because of the bridge situation. You can't move oath between chains. So right now, we've come up with a strategy on Snapshot that measures your oath balance on Optimism, Phantom, Arbitrum, BNB chain, Ethereum, Avalanche, and that's just for pure oath, right? And then BEoth, we had to develop a custom strategy to give it that multiplier that we talked about in the spec, right? So the BEoth gets 1.5x voting power versus just regular oath. And to us, that made sense, right? You're LPing, you're actively participating in, providing liquidity in the system. You should get a higher, vote within. Or a higher weight within the vote, right? So anyway, Beavis came up with a very custom measurement strategy in Snapshot. With the test vote, we found some small bugs that we're going to have to iron out. But for the most part, most people who have BEoth are either in Beethoven or staked in Ethos. There's like very few people that have BEoth not staked anywhere. So outside of some edge cases, we should be solving it in the next few weeks, hopefully. But for now, the BEoth that is in Ethos is included. So anyway, that should be the majority of people. I think it was something like 85% of BEoth is included, and we need to go tweak some parameters in our contract call. Believe it or not, I was watching Beavis code this live, and we were throwing all kinds of errors and figuring stuff out. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit of a test case the next few weeks. But for now, if you're in Ethos, you should be good, and we'll be solving the rest of the edge cases kind of as they pop up on a one-by-one basis. So yeah. Anyway, let me run through that list one more time. So. Optimism Oath, Phantom, Arbitrum, BNB Chain, Ethereum, and Avalanche. Yes, thank you for writing that down.
There we go, nice. Yeah, I wanted to make sure I got all of them. And Equestical, sorry, stupid name. I'm kidding. It's a great name. He asked, or she asked, does it include oath added to LPs? And so that was clarified. That was clarified by Samson
Correct.
with it's either
Yeah.
oath or B oath. Unfortunately, the LPs are very, very complicated.
Yeah,
to,
it's so
to track all
dynamic.
that.
Yeah, we do. I mean, the ratio of your oath and your LP changes all the time, right? So that would be a nightmare to try and calculate for every LP. And honestly, the pools keep changing across different platforms as well. So with the pool volatility being as high as it is, I don't think it makes sense to do that at the moment. But maybe if we could get or a couple guys for a few weeks to figure it out, maybe it's possible. But I wouldn't count on it for now.
UV dropping some heat. Oh yeah, Bob's Burgers. People say that I sound like that guy who, I don't know if you guys watch that show, but apparently I sound like the actor who. Anyways, UV is noting the delineation in value between providing liquidity and governance. Both are very important, have different time investment and rewards. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And I'm happy to see that you are making the switch to DeFi full time. That makes me very happy.
Yeah, man, congrats.
But yeah, congrats on that. Although he can't hear us. Yeah, that's a really, really good point. And like providing liquidity is a huge value add as well. And it's a decision that you have to make as a community member and as a user. But if you are maybe not as in tune with the governance system, and maybe you're taking some time to see how it plays out and to see how things get going, there's no this is the wrong way to put it, but there's no shame in providing liquidity. Like, it's all a big value add. If you're an oath holder and you're actively participating in the ecosystem in any way, that's just that's a great value add for the ecosystem. So
Yeah.
It depends on the user, and it depends what your time horizons are and how much time you can give to the space. Maybe you're not as active in DeFi, and that's like completely fine. Both are great undertakings.
Yeah, I will say I think providing liquidity is one of the best things you can do in DeFi if you're actively participating. Right, you're going to see a lot more, I think, token models moving towards an LP type governance system. Whether that's like a VE token model, which I think you're going to start seeing a lot more LPs in the VE kind of token model, or other different type of governance systems out there. I think that's going to be the standard, because a lot of liquidity is locked up in that single-sided staking option, right? And that's really capital inefficient. So you're going to see a lot of, I think, Solidly forks or other, type projects moving to that kind of, model. And then honestly, it gives you a stronger role within the governance, within the protocol. You should have a higher say, right? If you're providing liquidity in a system, that makes a lot more sense than just holding the token directly, right? Just because you are taking on that extra risk. And honestly, don't quote me on this, but I've seen some legal discussions out there saying that honestly, using an LP as your governance token also, I don't want to say gives the protocol lower liability in like a legal setting, but it might. So that's still kind of an evolving conversation, right? As it currently is, but that's another important aspect as well.
Right. It might turn out to be favorable regulatorily, but yeah. Again, I'm not
Things
a lawyer,
change
and neither
every
is
day.
AS. Yeah, exactly. And that's what the whole whoever's been following the 80/20 movement from Balancer, and if you haven't, I highly recommend. They've had a couple spaces recently on Twitter, but that is what it's all about. Where it's like, combining forces and really giving LPs most of the benefit in terms of governance as well. Like, you want to incentivize liquidity providers as much as you can, and in a way that's effective and not going to require printing a bunch of tokens or whatnot. So like that's the reason why BOth has a higher voting power, like AS said.
Yeah, it's really.
I think
Oh,
yeah,
sorry,
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to interrupt. I was gonna say, whenever I was writing the governance spec, this was honestly like, I want to think it was like November, December last year, whenever I was first noodling about it, and no one was doing LP governance. And then as soon as we offer the governance spec up, a few months later, everyone's doing it. So it was really interesting to kind of see that shift so quickly. Again, it's going to be really cool to see how the balancer initiative kind of takes off and who's participating and who's not, etc. So yeah, I'm really interested to see how it kind of plays out.
Yeah, fully agree. And someone, I saw a question a couple days ago in the Discord talking about, why not give people who only stake it in Ethos the governance power? But guys, the pool is the pool, and if you're in the pool providing liquidity, like the liquidity is what matters. So whether or not you're choosing to collect the fees from Ethos or any types of rewards coming from the Beethoven side, it really makes not a huge difference there.
Yeah, I'll jump in here
Yeah.
and plug the Reaper guys real quick because they're working on a BOth multi-strat to optimize the liquidity from either Beethoven or Ethos. So eventually that will be counted as well in our governance votes, but that's still kind of in work. I'm not entirely sure where that sits. I'll have to go back and ask.
Yeah, let's go. It's too bad Null isn't here because he's been querying about the BOth multi-strat for so long.
Yeah, no,
And,
I will ping
yeah.
them. I will ping them for you one more time.
Let's go. Yeah. Now that the staked earn vault is going through its process of battle testing. I'm sure we'll see the BOth vault coming here shortly. I don't have any timelines for you. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, very good point, Samson. Very good point. Very good point. Guys, do you have any questions that you want answered? I'm sure that you would have put them in the chat by now anyways, but just to give a friendly reminder. What else did I have? Hey, AS, can anyone write a proposal?
Yeah, the answer is yes. Anyone can write a proposal,
Yes.
whether you're individual or part of a contributor of a team, etc. Anyone can write a proposal and put it forward. So I'm already working on a few proposals that I think will be interesting. That will come out after the governance spec gets officially ratified. I think everyone's going to be really interested in seeing anything from a marketing proposal. Say you want to create a YouTube video about Oath on YouTube or whatever it is, and go ask for a token grant. Or if you want to integrate Oath in a new platform, etc. There's all kinds of things you can propose, right? So yeah, anyone can write a proposal, and like I said, my DMs are open. Happy to help draft, edit, etc., and help you walk through the process the first time. Yeah, anytime. So just send me a DM and we'll get it moving.
Yeah, I completely echo that. Once again, this horse is long dead, but please reach out. Please ask for help. Yeah,
Well, the fact
just
that
get involved.
the fact that I've already got 3 or 4 people, like working with me on stuff is pretty cool. So that means we're gonna have, a few votes in the next few weeks already, which is pretty awesome. So
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, I've been thinking about what my first proposal might be, what I want it to be. So yeah, I'm gonna start working on that. And, it's very, very exciting. Yeah, Samson, do you have any thoughts that you want to share? I know you're furiously typing away, but
yeah, I mean, I made a point that BOth is awesome just because it allows you to provide liquidity and also be rewarded for taking on that risk. Definitely, I'm holding both Oath and BOth for that risk and reward. Yeah, we're pretty excited to get the next set of proposals out. Pretty excited to get governance ratified and excited to see a new wave of enthusiasts eager to participate in governance and really take up the mantle of what Oath could be about. there's a lot of developments that I know we wish we could create, but couldn't for either compliance reasons or because it didn't make sense. But through governance, it actually allows the users to have some sway over how the development is prioritized. So, who knows, we could see some previously unthought oath derivatives or platforms become available through proposals. And yeah, we look forward to spinning up more opportunities for people to get involved in oath governance. There will be no doubt some subcommittees that can be formed through governance. One thing that I've always been wanting to pitch is like a merchandise line. I always like
Oh, heck yeah.
so bad.
Dude, you're stealing my idea.
Yeah, I know
I'm
there's
like,
some
finally.
wanting to maybe find some utility for the Curse Circus. I mean, that sounds fun. I'd be happy to brainstorm and help work on a proposal to bring some more utility there. I mean, whatever. I mean, this really allows for, the holders that have been with us, especially since the start, have probably a library of great ideas. So we look forward to accessing that and enabling you all to, make change and be involved in the future of Oath, and to deliver more transparency based on these processes that are coming into place. It's a win-win for everyone, and I'm sure everyone will be really proud of what's happened so far and what we can become. So
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will plug one more time that, if you have updates or changes to the specification that you want to see, please, drop them in the chat. We're going to be voting on the first version of the spec probably tomorrow to start with. But that doesn't mean there can't be revisions, right? So as any good document will, attest to, that changes and updates happen all the time. So if we want to change something in a spec, or if we think something is too restrictive or not restrictive enough, then we can do that, right? So let's all give it a read. It's it's long. I apologize. I was trying to be really, just like descriptive and explicit when I was writing it, but it got a little lengthy. And honestly, this is the pared down version because I had 3 phases to start with. So,
Dude,
anyway.
I was actually admiring the conciseness of it, because I mean, a governance framework, it's going to be long. Like, there's no way for it not to be at least a few pages without it not being detailed enough. So I don't know. I personally, I think you found a good balance between brevity and comprehensiveness. So I think you did a good job there personally. But also, guys, in terms of the actual voting, the Oath ecosystem has a page on Snapshot, and I'm dropping the link now. And I know that some of you, either here now or listening later, have not joined because there's only 30 members in it. So, if I'm sure you're on Snapshot already. If you're not, get familiar with the tool, connect your wallet, and join the ecosystem. And that's where all of the proposals are going to be. The active ones and the closed ones as well. So, join that Snapshot page to stay on top of things. And I did want to say,
No,
please.
go ahead. I was going to hop in and say, how could you guys vote Subway number 1? I'm sorry, but excuse me, please.
For what it's worth, I did not vote Subway. What did I? Firehouse. That's what I went with.
Yeah, Firehouse and Jimmy John's got my split vote. So
Jimmy John's. Is it like a sin for me not to have even tried Firehouse before? I haven't even.
I don't know. Is it up where you're at?
No, it isn't.
Okay.
I literally have only tried Subway out of all of the options. I'm so man, being Canadian, it's really a bummer in the sandwich department.
Yeah.
You got to go to local sandwich places. They're the one chain is like Subway. That's pretty much it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
It's too bad. Too bad.
Everywhere. It blows my mind that Subway has more restaurants than McDonald's. It just sort of is.
That is crazy.
How popular Subway is, but I'm not surprised that it did take first place. And ultimately, I came around. I was a little disappointed that it was so North American focused. Oath is an international beast, and I would have preferred some more, specific. Where's my list of 20 restaurants? Let's make it really complex after all.
All right. Next
But Subway
proposal.
is a unifier across our borders, which is pretty awesome. So
Yeah.
could be worse. And at least the cookies from Subway are pretty unreal.
They were pretty bomb. I
They
think
are.
Beavis had a bit of, I think he set it up in a way that Subway was going to get the win with his Subway bias.
Yeah, he has
yeah.
been promoting
He's
the sub bias for a while.
He's been plotting this all along. Like he's been feeding us little hints. He's been training us like pets with just hinting at Subway. What's that? What's the test? What's the famous psychological experiment where you like feed small hints and then every time you ring a bell, they do something.
Pavlov's dog. Yeah.
He's been Pavloving us with Subway.
All right, guys, we're gonna officially scrap the vote tomorrow. We're gonna do chicken sandwiches next. All right, get your chicken sandwich chops in right now.
Yeah. I we're coming up on an hour, so just to give everybody a warning, we could probably start wrapping this up, but I did want to say something to follow up with what Samson was saying a few minutes ago, but something that I've had to think about and kind of overcome a little bit is not getting too focused on what my personal interests in DeFi, or like the tunnel that I look through, because with this governance framework you can get creative, and it's like if you have a good idea, that I just want to make sure everybody isn't constrained by anything that you might think proposals are supposed to be about, because it's not just about add this feature to Reaper or something like that. It's like if you have an interesting idea that might be a little bit out of the box, just open up a discussion about it. Again, like it's have creative freedom with any ideas that you might have, and that's something that I have to sort of broaden my mind about. It's kind of along the maybe a partnership with Subway is a little bit too out of the box, but I think you guys get what I'm saying, right? Like the ecosystem can grow and expand across a lot of horizontals and verticals. So I think we should keep our minds open about what this community can achieve over the course of years.
Totally.
So yeah,
totally. We have a lot of very talented people in the Oath community. Engineers, artists, musicians, etc. There's no telling what we could do right over the next few years. So I'm keep an open mind, and then when you have something, please post it in the forum. Let's chat about it. Right? We'll see what we can do. Right? I mean, let's make it happen.
I mean, just to sort of buff that even more and wrap it up with a nice bow, Steven's just suggested a documentary about following along the Oath journey. I'd say that's not out of the realm of scope. This is ultimately about how do we make Oath thrive, and we're all here for that one mission. So while our protocols are based in DeFi and are leveraging the power of the blockchain, it doesn't necessarily mean that every single proposal needs to be related to that. We're here to actually make Oath great, and that also will require other efforts that are peripheral to the success of those protocols. So thanks everyone. I guess we can wrap it up there. I hope we managed to answer every question that came along in the text chat.
I think we did. I think Charles did a good job of kind of pulling them out as they happened. So I didn't see anything that got left behind. But yeah, if you guys have anything, last call before we hop off here. If not, I'll see you in the forum, right?
Yes. Yeah. Thanks everyone. And I look forward to keeping this discussion rolling with all of you. So appreciate it.
Good job, Charles, on kind of moderating the chat. That was really awesome. This is my first time kind of speaking in front of a lot of people like this, and it went really, really well. So
You killed it. You killed it. I know it's tough listening to the sound of your own voice, but it gets a lot
It
better.
is.
All right, thanks everyone. We'll end the stage now. Keep the questions and conversation moving, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.